What's up, everybody? Welcome to Thursday night. It is the draft show. Guys, we are the show where one of your hosts won't stop drafting Sam Laporta in every draft that she's in. One of us drafts running backs like they're last night's leftovers, and one of us is here to roast us about our unhinged draft habits. I will let you decide who is who. Guys, we have got a killer show for you tonight. We are doing an intro to the high stakes format. We are starting off with the king of FFPC data himself, Darren Armani of Fantasy Mojo. And if you have ever drafted without checking his site first, well, congrats on your donation. We are shifting gears then on over to the legal side of fantasy football with Drew Davenport. He is going to be on here giving us the legal breakdown on the Judkins, Addison, and Rashee Rice cases. It's messier than your waiver wire in week 14. And closing us out is Kelly Singh, the one and only. She is here to talk about the upcoming women's tournament with the FFWC. Guys, we are going to have a great show for you tonight. It's going to be just an absolute blast. Like I said, we are kicking it off. Darren Armani is here, Fantasy Mojo. Darren, welcome. How's it going tonight?
It's going excellent. We're kicking into high gear with draft season now. The kidding around's pretty much over, I think. So
yeah,
we're ready to go.
I can't believe I was like, is it really like July 24th, or we're going to have the expo in like several days? Then we're going to be just really getting in the nitty gritty part of it. But I can't wait.
Yeah. After you get past 4th of July, it's like, okay, the switch gets flipped on and you're off and running.
Right. And then it's like, I'm looking at my calendar and I've got like draft here, draft there, draft, like all this stuff. It's nuts. Yeah, so guys, like I said, tonight we're doing intro to high stakes fantasy football. Here all season we have been diving into the different formats, different ways to play fantasy football, kind of bringing you guys experts from the different areas. So Darren, you are like just the absolute like guru of ADP information for the FFPC. I want to know, like, how did you get started like doing that? Because you've been doing that I've only been playing high stakes for like 6 years now, but like you've been doing this forever.
Yeah, I just it has like they've been around since 2009, I think. Mm-hmm. And I started doing it for in 2010, which nobody really even paid attention to them for years and years, but the whole time I was just kind of doing it for myself. Because they actually used to host the leagues on my fantasy league way back when.
Wow.
So I was pulling the data, building ADP, and I was just throwing up on the website just for my own purposes. And, people started using it along with me. But it's like they've grown like so large now. It's like a whole operation. They've got, we'll get into it, but like right now, I got 16 different formats of contests that they're running that I supply the ADP for right now. So there's a lot of slicing and dicing that has to be done every day to cook this stuff up for sure.
I can't. It seems like just so much math involved and statistics.
Aaron cooks the sausage, so we don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. I'm up. I'm like the baker. I'm up at I'm literally up at like 5:30 every morning. Just
he's proofing,
getting stuff. I'm proofing the dough and then I'm out of there at like 8 a.m. Just like the guy at the bakery. They hit the road. Their work is done. Then I'm off to my next job.
It's sold out. Everything's sold out of the bakery. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I know like Kevin and I are super familiar with your site and everything, but I know there are some people out that are listening that maybe not are as really kind of into the high stakes world, but maybe you're really curious about it. Like, tell us about kind of like just a quick overview of Fantasy Mojo, and like what the site is and like what all they can expect to find there.
Yeah, so we're like, I call it the one-stop shop for all varieties of data. I couch it as high stakes data. It's really FFPC specific, but I've got people who subscribe that play in NFFC, guys that play in what's the other one? FFWC, and KFFC guys. Like when I was out at KFFC like last year, it's a similar platform, but it's not the same exact rules. But it's high stakes data, so it's coming from a group of players who have more skin in the game. They'll put a lot more money on the line, and they tend to be quicker to set the trends in drafting. In my opinion, and they're not better players because they put in more money, but collectively as a whole, when you get into a league in high stakes, everybody sitting at the table pretty much knows what they're doing. It's not like jumping into like a DraftKings lobby draft and like you got like you don't know what you're going to get, right? So, but all these people are heavily invested. So, but anyway, so it's all sorts of data around all the FFPC contests. Like I said, there's basically 3 go-to areas that people like to look at. One is the ADP data. Like I said, I've got 16 different contests that I'm supporting from them. Everything from best ball tournaments, redraft tournaments. They got 6 different kinds of Dynasty. And we'll list the ADP, like current ADP, but then we'll go back and list the ADP for every month. Like, they start drafting in January there.
Yeah.
So, and it's just really easy to navigate the ADP. You can sort it all kinds of ways. And the really cool thing is, like, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see I post these like diagrams, like these scatter plot diagrams. Like, you go into any ADP chart I have, you click on the player and you get that diagram. So it's not just like a number, right? There's like ranges of where these guys are going. So you click on the diagram and you'll get the graph of, okay, his ADP might be 705, but then you can see like exactly, he might've gone like in the 4th round and down to the 10th round. You can see the frequencies of where players are actually going. So, if you might have to like jump the ADP in some cases. And it's up to date, because if by the time the ADP queues change in the draft rooms, it's too late. You want up-to-date data from the previous night, because especially now with training camps open, opinions of players can just go out of whack. Like somebody could jump up 2 rounds overnight. ADP is a big thing. The other big thing we have is you can literally go and look at every draft board for every draft that the FFPC has. It's indexed nicely. And a lot of people, that's like their morning routine. They'll log in and then they'll just pull up the draft boards and they'll like start looking at the drafts from the previous night to kind of identify where player movements are. And the thing about ADP is it's just a number. But when you look at a draft board, you start to see how roster constructions are being done, how people are building their teams. You don't get that from ADP. So you have to look at the draft boards too to see kind of how people are building their teams. So those are 2 big things. The other tool that's pretty popular is the Stack Finder. So for any FFPC tournament, you can look up the number of teams in a tournament that roster any combination of players. So typically you're looking at stacks, like how many people stacked A.G. Brown with Jalen Hurts, but you could do it for any combination of players. You can mix them up and you can see exactly how many leagues that combination exists in. So, but the ADP goes back 10 years. So we've got the history on it all, and people do go back and they look at ADP trends over the years, and our draft boards actually go back 15 years for the FFPC. So you can go, the cool thing about that is you want to know like what the drafts look like of the people who won the contest in the prior years. Mm-hmm. It's easy to do. You just go back to 2024, go to the main event pages, and we've got the prize winners and everything. So it's like you get lost in it so quick, but there's just an infinite number of things to look at.
The Stack Finder, that was like on one of my notes here to like make sure to ask you about that, because I got a Barkley Genty stack not that long ago in something, and I was like, there can't be that many more of these.
Yeah, well, I mean, depending on how long the contest is run, so you got to keep in mind, like Big Gorilla's been, I think that's been going since March.
Yeah.
So like McCaffrey was going much later. Like combinations now you think that nobody could get. Well, they were probably getting them back in March, but still you got to go check it out because you never know. But there's people who will go into that like during a draft and start looking stuff up. Easier to do in a slow draft than a live draft, but people do that.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
One other thing that's really kind of useful specifically for newer players is we have waiver wire data. So in season, we'll summarize the waiver runs. We'll show most added players, most dropped players, but it's really cool how we kind of like show the frequency of the bidding. So like there'll be where the average bids are, but then you'll see the high bids and the low bids, but you can go back to prior years as well.
Yeah,
so
you
like,
can go back to see when I put $990 bid on Elijah Mitchell in 2021. Yeah.
You'd be surprised. Some people they don't know the rules, and they'll bid $1,000 in week 1 on something. Yeah. So it's helpful to have aids like that. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that was me my first year playing high stakes, and I had no idea what fab was, and not one clue at all about how it's supposed to manage.
Well, hey, it was good when when Kyron and Puka were up in week 2 of 2023. So I mean, hey, it worked out then. But yeah, that's good times.
We don't always have those diamonds available to us in the waiver wire.
Those are exceedingly rare.
Those were the good days. Yeah, for sure.
I think Terry McLaurin, like that one sticks out to me. He was undrafted in the first year I started playing, and I didn't get how to. I was like, I'll put $2 on Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Did you get him?
No, I sure didn't. I sure didn't get Terry McLaurin for $2. No.
Yeah, so it's good to know, because like the bidding kind of in a particular format, it follows like the same patterns year after year. And that's really what I'm doing here. Is like, I've got historical patterns that people can go back and look at, and the dollar values that people bid, it'll change as you go through the season as sort of the back. It's like a curve. Like, people bid high at the beginning, and then they try to preserve money. And then at the end, they're just like, letting everything go. So the bidding goes way back up at the end of the season. Yeah. So you can clearly see that stuff.
Yeah, we're not getting a check back for the remainder of our waiver funds. So
use it or lose it. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So we've got these really early tournaments, right, that come in, how do you think, or do you at all think that they shape kind of the ADP for the main events that start a little bit, further in the season? How do you think, what trends have you seen with that?
Well, I think with those, people will be playing a higher volume, like in those best ball tournaments. They got in this format, they got a $35 super flex, and then they got a $125 kind of more traditional best ball. But those are where people are getting their reps in. Like, you're like, they're doing draft after draft after draft. Like, you're almost like training your mind as to what the player values are in each format, right? So, and that'll kind of change. You have to kind of stay, it's like going to the gym. You got to keep doing it every day, because if you step away from it for a week, the whole world could have shifted.
Yeah.
But in doing that, you mentally train yourself. And then when we get to in the next few weeks, when the big money drafts are, so you're talking about going from high volume best balls to lower volume main events, you already know, it's second nature to you, where the players are going to go. So main events, it's get your guy. You're only going to have maybe 2 to 4 teams, most people. So where the player values are. And if you want to get your guy, you're going to have to jump that ADP, because it's anything goes when you get to the main event. So you've basically, like I said, it's you've built muscle memory, and you kind of know. And you also know, having drafted from all over the board, doing a volume of drafts, you kind of know what to expect as a draft goes along. Where the pockets of depth are for particular positions. So this year, it's if you're drafting in the back half of the draft, like 8 to 12, it's a lot of wide receivers going there. Up towards the first half, it's more the running backs, and in the middle it kind of varies. But that kind of just from doing draft after draft. And that's kind of the value that I see. In addition to winning some nice prizes by doing that, you're going to have a high volume, but you're ready to go when you hit the main event time, for sure.
I will never forget. I guess this was, I've told Erica and Kevin have heard this story numerous times. But Sam Laporta's rookie year, I'm at the live main event. And I'm I looked at every single board to see where he was going, because I had to have him. And it was around the 5th, 6th round, something like that, because it's rookie, right? So I'm in the draft, and I think we were in round 4. And my partner Jim and I were all right, we can take him next. We'll go a little bit early just to make sure we get him, right? And I kid you not, the team that drafted immediately after us in the 4th round took Sam Laporta, and I think I died inside.
Wow.
That was the earliest that he went everywhere. So when you say you have to go get your guys, regardless, the lesson learned, right there.
Yeah, that was. I remember that, because they played in the Thursday night game, and I did actually take him in my draft, which was on Friday. But he didn't go. 4th was early, like you said. Yeah. But he didn't go. He had a good game, and you're when you finally see these guys playing a game, you get to see real proof of what they're going to do. He looked great. So I picked him up. He helped me in that league that year. But yeah, anything goes in Vegas. Just you don't know what these people are going to do.
The Isaiah Likely corollary.
Oh, that's so bad. Some people took him in the first round. Like you can jump it, but don't be like a fool. Like don't to get that week 1 win. It's like don't sell
you
yourself.
Got 6 shots in the holster. You don't need to shoot them all right away.
Yeah.
I think like right after that game happened, I think there were more people like watching the after the game drafts than I have ever seen before in my life, just waiting to see who was going to take.
I think I texted you actually. I was like, "Did you see this?"
And I was like, "Yeah, it is absolutely."
Yeah, because there's a couple drafts that follow that game. There's only a couple of them, but that's the time honestly when I lose my mind because, the people, you know, I'm literally drafting with guys who like use the site. I'll walk around the room. They all got my website up, but they need like that updated ADP because when those results from that game come in, all the drafts, they'll look totally different, you know, the next morning. So that stuff's got to get updated right away. And then now we got 2 games. So it's going to be crazy after the Thursday night game. There's going to be crazy again after the Friday night game. So yeah, we'll be busy for sure.
Up is down, left is right.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about Pros versus Joes. Like tell everybody about that tournament. How can people follow along? If they want to get in and try to become a Joe, how do they do that?
Yeah, so it's a little like to get in as a Joe, but Pros versus Joes is basically a premier event at the FFPC where they, by invitation, take 42 industry people and then they pit them up against 42 FFPC players that they call the Joes. So it's like the pros, people who do it professionally in theory, versus the Joes who are kind of doing it more as a hobby. But so, and there's 7 leagues, they're best ball. In each league, there's 6 Joes against 6 pros. And actually you draft, it's staggered. It's a pro, then a Joe, then a pro, then a Joe. So on either side of you, when you draft, you got somebody from the other side. So it's limited. It's tough to get in. The Joes get picked by a lottery. So to get in as a Joe, they take anybody who's did an early bird sign up for the main event, which is like a $2,000 entry. They do a lottery and they pick these 42 people. And then I'd like contact everybody and I put them all together and I assemble these 7 leagues. But the thing is, the winner of each league gets a free entry into the following year's main event. So that's a $2,000 value. So there's a lot on the line. This isn't some like play around, you know, league. Like you better be serious. So if you're like an industry guy who's like touting all these players, I think the cool thing is like you get them in that draft where like there's a $2,000 prize in line. They're gonna tell you who they really like. For instance, I've been kind of following what the drafts that have been going on so far, and so Kevin, I know you're like a big 0 RB guy. So Siegel
dabbled
just a little. But your godfather of 0 RB, him and Gretsch, they took like 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds. So when it came down to it, they were just taking like the best values on the board. So it's interesting to see like how people draft when there's big things on the line like that. So
yeah, it's harder and harder to go true. Like you couldn't do that. It's much harder to do it now than it was in like 2020 or 2021.
And everybody's doing it.
Yeah, we were all just bored in the pandemic that we just wanted to try different stuff.
It worked better when fewer people were doing it. But last year it kind of like it got out of control. I think I looked at the data and the 25% of people were doing 0 RB. This year it's down 50%. So it might be a good time to stick to that, right? Because a lot of the people kind of bailed. So maybe there's some opportunity to get in some of those. But anyway, so the Pros versus Joes, the overall champion gets one of those trophy smack belts. So I send that out to somebody. But it's a really cool event, and it's honestly it's their highest viewed drafts online on YouTube that they do all year. People love watching these things, so they're good. And the drafts, it's over 2 weeks. So we had the first 3 drafts are in the books, but the second week of drafts always follows training camp opening. So like things are like the ADPs from the second week are like different than what happened in the first week because like Elijah Arroyo, for instance, like that whole thing went down. So he's going to be going up in these drafts versus what happened in the first week. So it's pretty interesting. So, but definitely tune in the FFPC YouTube channel, and you can watch them all. And I'm drafting Tuesday night, but they've got them Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday this upcoming week.
Nice. Well, Darren, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Before you go, I want to ask you real quick, one player whose ADP you think is going to spike before August hits. I know we only have a few more days till then, but anybody?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been kind of ramping up my drafting, and I've been taking more and more of Javonte Williams, because I think the Dallas running backs, like somebody in that backfield is going to emerge. Like it's going to be a valuable guy. So if you can get like a 70-30 type of running back, getting 70% of the carries in the 10th round or later on that offense, I think it's kind of like it's real quiet with those guys right now. Like Miles Sanders has been going up a little bit, but I think that backfield as a whole is going to start to get a little bit more attention. So, but right now it looks like Javonte seems to be the guy early. It's going to change, but there's opportunity there, I think. So that'll be going up.
Nice. Well, guys, make sure that you give Darren a follow. He's at Fantasy Mojo, and you can go and get on his website at fantasymojo.com as well. Darren, again, thanks so much for hanging out with us. It's been great.
See you on Kentucky.
Yep. Catch you later. Bye.
All right. See you guys.
Bye. There, Darren.
All right, guys. As promised, it looks like they released him from the jail. They let him leave. We have got Drew Davenport here, the man that you want to have his number in your phone if you ever see the blue lights behind you. Drew, how's it going?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Good.
They
let you out of the jail?
They did. It's always a nice feeling walking out and smelling something other than that jail. If you've never been in jail, the smell is indistinguishable.
It is I don't go to the jail much because I don't do that kind of law, but years and years ago I had to go see a client there, and like we were wrapping up and everything, and as I was about to leave, I was like trying to get like the guards like attention so I could get out, and my client there, he's like, he turns around and tells the guard, he's like, don't worry, I'll walk her out. They were like, no, not how that's gonna work.
Oh, it's fun, I'll tell you that much. Whole lot of fun.
How are you doing? How's everything going? You've been busy lately.
I'm slammed. The Rice and Addison stuff dropping on the same day was wild. And on the heels of the Judkins case, so it's been nonstop legal stuff. I'm letting the other stuff go, unfortunately, but I'm still managing to get the show out, do a little bit of work for the Patreon, but the legal stuff is really eating away at my time. But that's how it goes. That's this time of year between the mini camps and training camp. They got like 6 weeks free, and people get in trouble.
That's what they get out there. They've got too much time on their hands.
100% money and time.
Yep. Should we start with Quinshon Judkins, and then we can talk about our other two guys who kind of got their situations wrapped up?
Yeah. So you just want me to tell you what's going on right now?
What's going on with that? Like what people can kind of expect maybe coming up with them, because that still is kind of pending, and what's going on with Quinshon?
Well, it's interesting because I just checked the docket before coming on, knowing I was going to talk to you guys, and there's no new court date on the docket yet. So I don't know why that is. It seems a little bit odd. I mean, it's not a crazy outlier or something. It's only been about 10 days. But typically you get a pretrial date at this point. They don't have one yet. Now, I don't know if there's some other place that I should be looking, but it happened in Fort Lauderdale. That's in Broward County. I'm on the Broward County website. I'm finding the case. There's just no notations about a new court date. So unfortunately, we're sort of in this special kind of hell because we don't really know which way this is going to go, and it could go like a billion ways. This is one of those things where it's bad enough that he could easily see the 6+ games that is triggered in the personal conduct policy, because for anybody not familiar, there are some provisions that are just laid out at the beginning of the personal conduct policy that are just general provisions. Don't do this, that, and the other. And they're normal stuff. And that says, hey, this is a violation of the policy. But there's a special section for domestic violence, sexual assault, and felonious assault, not necessarily misdemeanor stuff, but felonious.
More like Alvin Kamara situation.
Yes, correct. And we're not talking about like, hey, I was at a bar and I punched a dude. Like that's not. We're talking about serious domestic, felonious, or sexual assault. That all triggers a 6-game baseline, and that stuff all came out of the Ray Rice situation a few years back. They decided they had to have some sort of more strict first time around policy, and that's where they came up with this 6 games. So that's triggered automatically on any domestic situation. Now, of course, that doesn't just we don't get 6 games because there's an allegation. We have to see what happens. There's several cases that, like the Von Miller case, there was a 911 call and a pretty distraught woman on that 911 call, and he was never placed on the exempt list. She ends up recanting the story, and it all just just disappeared. Now, you've got the Chiefs receiver, gosh, it's escaping me now, Justin Ross, who he was put on the exempt list immediately, and that case ended up going away too, but he still spent time on the exempt list. So we just have no idea. If he ends up getting convicted of something, I mean, the case itself doesn't look fantastic. Yeah. The 911 call, TMZ has it, and she's very calm and collected on that 911 call. This is not – a lot of people are painting this as like a money grab, like whatever you want to say. I can't stand that stuff. That drives me nuts just because she waited a few days to report this. This is a legitimate allegation. I'm not here to say, yes, it happened. Like, that would be silly. I don't know enough to know that. But this is not somebody who's just some person calling up, making stuff up. There's some substance behind this. Now, that doesn't mean it can't go away, because showing up in court and facing a person is a completely different thing than filing the charges. It is hard to do each step of this process. So we don't know what's going to happen if she's going to decide one day, I'm good, I don't want to do this anymore. Or maybe they reach a settlement behind the scenes. Sometimes that happens. I don't like to allege that stuff because it sounds kind of like gross, but sometimes that's what happens. And what I would say to people is, if you're a victim, that's up to you. Like, it's not for us to judge like what's going to make her feel whole. Hey, pay me $50,000 and I'll feel better about you blasting me in the jaw. That's on her. I don't care. Some people want jail. Some people want money. Some people just want them to stay away. That's up to the victim. That's not for us to decide. So we don't know what she's going to do. That leaves us in limbo, knowing whether or not we're going to have this 6 games triggered. We just don't have any way to guess right now.
Yeah, and that leads to a spot where, like, I was not big on Jerome, just on the football side of it, not being a fan of Jerome Ford anyway, and it being dicey that they drafted 2 running backs, to where I'm looking at Dylan Sampson, and we look at 2 running backs, like, who's to say that Dylan Sampson can't be the guy in that backfield? Like, that takes a lot of the early down stuff, and then maybe Jerome Ford takes some of the receiving role. Like, the early down role for Sampson would be awesome for fantasy purposes. I mean, we see running backs that are drafted later than, like Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Jones was drafted, I believe, in the 5th round by the Packers. Jamal Williams was a 4th round pick, and obviously we know how that kind of worked out. But that's where I'm taking a lot of shots on Dylan Sampson, because the price is right. Quinshon Judkins is still, even having dropped, in a spot where you kind of don't really want to be the one kind of holding the water balloon at the end of the day. So
yeah, if I could just say, I still don't want to be super bullish on taking him. I don't think his ADP's dropped enough yet where I'm comfortable with it.
Right.
And I'm not saying that he's going to get 6. At a certain point, it makes sense to take him, because if you can get him for the last 10, 11 weeks of the year and he's a bell cow, then that's going to pay off. But right now, I'm just nervous enough about it. I can't see him walking out of this with nothing, because the NFL is going to do their own investigation. So I think something's going to happen to him. But, the NFL, they have their weird ways of doing stuff. So I can't say 0 is a non-zero possibility, but I feel like something's coming.
Well, and especially – oh, sorry, Erica, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say that 6 games, if it does happen, it can come anytime during the year too, correct?
It can, because we don't have a court date yet. So there's no guarantee this is over before the season. Misdemeanor charges move faster. The speedy trial is faster. The courts want to get it done faster. I mean, in Ohio, like where I practice, if you don't have a case done within 6 months, regardless of whether there's a speedy trial waiver, so the person, is not worried about constitutional speedy trial. The Supreme Court will call you or send you an email like, why isn't this case over with yet? It's been over 6 months. The judge has to have a real good reason. Now, I'm not saying that's how it is in Florida, but misdemeanors just don't take very long. I would expect this to be done this year. And with how slow it's moving to get a pretrial, who knows if it's done in October. But if she's going to drop it, if it's like not going to go forward, we may know that here in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we may have that clarity before the season. But if it goes forward to a pretrial, I'd expect, middle of the season resolution, and that's not good either.
And I was just going to say too, especially with him being a rookie, because when you're suspended, you can't be in the facility, right? You can't practice with the team or anything like that. So he's not getting those reps with the team. He's not getting integrated into the offense. And I just think that would make it so much more difficult for him to come back and be productive for our purposes,
Has to. I don't see how it couldn't. I think, the preseason, you're allowed if you're suspended. But then once that week 1 hits, you got to stay away. So it's got to be a problem for him.
Yeah. All right. So we've got our other 2 guys here, Rashee Rice and Jordan Addison. Dealer's choice, Kev, Rebecca. I'm going to let one of you guys. I don't know why I called you Rebecca. Where did that come from? I don't know.
No idea.
I've never called you that before, ever. And that's so weird. I swear there's water in this. Erica, what do you guys pick? Who do you want to talk about?
It's Stacey's first day. We'll give her a slap.
It's my first day on the show, apparently. Jeez.
Let's go with Rashee Rice.
Let's talk about Rashee Rice.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I'll tell you, Addison's a little more straightforward, but the information I have on Rice, one of the things I don't like to look down my nose at are insiders. And there are some insiders around the team and some of these teams that I think are reliable. It seems like there's a Chiefs insider that's getting some information from inside the building that says 2 to 4 weeks. That's what the team's expecting. So I don't like to just poo-poo that and say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, because these insiders, sometimes they do know people in the building, and they get a big following for a reason because they do have connections. So let me just put that out there straight away, that's part of the calculus I'm using here. But when you look at the personal conduct policy with respect to what he did, it's hard to put it into a neat little box, because the 6 games we talked about before, felonious assault, sexual assault, and and domestic violence, it doesn't really apply on any of those. And somebody said, well, this could be an assault thing because, yes, he was charged with that originally. So I get that, but that's stretching it a little bit to say that's – I don't believe that's the intent of that section of the personal conduct policy. And then on the other hand, you have the policy on substances of abuse, but that's not involved here either. So really there's a catch-all part of the personal conduct policy that says putting others in danger or tarnishing the shield. And those 2 things come into play. He's definitely violated the policy. We know that. He pleads guilty to 2 third-degree felonies. There's a little bit of confusion about what that means. I believe at this point that we're dealing with a diversion scenario. I'm going partially off of what Adam Schefter said as well. Schefter called it deferred adjudication. I'm not sure I like the word adjudication. We have to be precise here, because the actual release from the district attorney's office says deferred probation. Now, I think it's going to amount to the same thing. I think he's pled guilty on these 2 third-degree felonies, and I believe he can earn his way out of the charges. It's essentially how a diversion works. You have to plead guilty because part of accepting diversion is accepting that you're guilty of something. And you can't go in there and plead no contest. You can't, get some sweetheart deal. They tell you, we want you to plead to these charges. If you say guilty, then you can earn your way out of this. That's how he's going to do it with the 30 days of jail time. And there's some other things like speaking out against street racing and doing some stuff like that. So if he complies with all of that stuff, I believe at some point they just rip up the pleas. So essentially what happens is you enter the plea, they don't docket it and enter it as accepting the plea. They take the plea and then they withhold final sentencing and adjudication until he complies or doesn't. If he doesn't, they file stamp that and he's guilty of the 2 felonies. If he does everything he's supposed to do, they rip up the guilty plea. It ends up being a dismissed case. So that's where it gets sticky with the NFL. It's if he does what he's supposed to do, all this stuff goes away. It's dismissed. But then the NFL can't say, well, you didn't do anything, and they do their own investigation. So they have to give him something. So I think that's why we land at the 2 to 4 games. I don't know how serious the NFL sees it because he's already paid a bunch of money. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he's paid $1 million already on one of the civil suits. That was just settled the day before.
I did not.
That's not a coincidence. Yeah, that's not a coincidence. They did it all together because he had to pay $115,000 restitution as part of the criminal case. And then he goes over to the civil case, settles that for $1 million plus $75,000 in interest and attorney fees. He's going to be in like $1.2 million in that settlement in the civil case. So he's going to end up being in $1.3 million for settling all this stuff. But that's making people whole, and the NFL cares about that. So they're going to say, all right, you're doing all the right things. You're saying all the right things. You've paid out all this money. I just don't think they're going to stick him with 6 games. The NFL makes me a liar all the time. They do weird stuff. You just never know what they're going to do. I just don't think they're going to give him 6. So I think 2 to 4 feels right. Yeah. That's a super long answer. Sorry.
No. I mean, that's occupational hazard.
It is.
Also, what do you think with the jail time part of that? Like, when do you think he serves that? Is that, have they decided that already? I haven't seen anything about it, but I wasn't sure. And because I was thinking, I was like, we're getting real close to the season here. Like, how does that affect if they haven't decided, how many games they're going to give him yet, that kind of thing.
I don't think they've decided the jail time issue, but my guess is when they made the deal, his representative said, so can he do that next summer or can he do that in March? I'm guessing that's what they talked about because it's 5 years of, monitored time there. I'm guessing they're saying as long as you get it in the next year or whatever. I doubt the guy's going to walk into a jail, on August 1st and get out on Labor Day. I just don't think that's happening. Yeah. And a lot of people have asked me, well, why jail time if it's going to be dismissed? But I get that in a diversion all the time where so part of the plea, part of it is like, hey, you have to spend some time in jail for this. That's all part of the diversion. It's not super normal, but it certainly happens.
I was trying to think, like, who's the last, like, current or, like, active player that we saw, like, actually have to do jail time for something?
Yeah, it's Henry Ruggs, to my mind.
Yeah.
It's about the last one I remember.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, last but not least, Jordan Addison. He's up.
Yeah, Jordan Addison's a little bit more clear. You can find the substances abuse policy from the NFL online. It's pretty straightforward. If you are found guilty of a violation that involves alcohol, you're going to be suspended 3 games. A lot of people say, well, can it go down? Yes, it can. The bottom line with the NFL is they can always go down. It's the NFL Players Association would scream bloody murder if they tried to go up without a good reason. But it's sort of like if the court gives my client a break, nobody's going to scream about it unless the prosecutor is upset about it. That's a different story. But the judge can kind of do something for me and nobody's going to care because it's easier on the person who's involved. When you get tougher, you have to justify it. So I think they can go down to 2 games because, again, Addison's team is setting up the same thing Rice's team was. And I've said this over and over about punishment that I think it's an underrated part of analyzing what's going to happen. The NFL wants to see contrition. They just do. If you don't have it, it hurts. Mm-hmm. And Alvin Kamara's team played it just beautifully, how they set it all up. And they got 3 games for basically just absolutely pulverizing some dude.
Yeah.
And, like, he got 3 games. And they set it up well. They did everything perfect with his apologies and how he approached the league and what he said. And if Addison's team does that good, I can see it coming down to 2 games. I guess I'd be shocked if the NFL was like, yeah, here's 1 or 0. That would shock me. I think 2 is realistic, but 3 is obviously in the policy. And it doesn't have to be a DUI. It doesn't have to be a guilty plea because he pleads no contest in this case. They specifically mention, or a plea of nolo contendere, but no contest is in the policy. So they're covering themselves saying, even if you get a reduced charge, which he did, it involves alcohol and you're admitting use of alcohol in that violation, it's going to be 3 games. But like I said, I think it could come down to 2, and I see that as being a realistic possibility. I think you can flip a coin. I think for fantasy purposes, it doesn't matter a whole lot. I think that's going to come at the beginning of the year, and he'll have that out of the way for the important weeks.
Yeah. So, like, what's some, like, good advice for fantasy managers when they're, trying to decide how much weight to give players that have these unresolved legal issues and whether or not they should draft them?
Boy, I tell you what, my advice is always let the ADP catch up, first of all, because it took a little while for the Rice ADP to catch up. It is happening. I'm in some best ball, like charity leagues, like I'm sure you all are right now drafting. And it's basically Joey.
You want mine too, Joey?
Oh man. Yes, Joey. I hear you, man. I've got my tail kicked all over the place in the Kings Classic the last couple of seasons. But what I tell people is like let the ADP catch up first of all, and also like you have to be able to draft with those things in mind, so it changes your strategy. In auctions, it's a lot easier because you can cover that up. You can be like, okay, I'm going to draft Rice. I'm going to hope he's back by week 5, and then I'm just going to draft a better receiver behind him. It's easier to do that than it is in a snake because there's opportunity cost. When you take Rice, you're shutting yourself out of other guys that are right now, injury aside, going to play the whole season. So I think it's harder in a snake draft to do it. But my advice would just be like, hey, tune into what I'm saying because I don't think anybody can dial it in any better for you right now just because I'm up to date on exactly what is out there open source. Anything else is behind the scenes, and I ain't Adam Schefter, but that's the best I can do.
Drew, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I know you probably had a really long day, so I appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing all that legal wisdom with us. Make sure to tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find all of your content, and you're going to be at the expo, so they can come say hi if they're going to be at the expo too.
For sure. I always encourage people to come out. You don't have to be in the industry. Just come out. We're all easy to approach and fun people. I think we are anyway. Yeah. Thank you for the chance to plug. I'm on Twitter at Drew Davenport FF. I'm on TikTok and the Patreon network, the Fantasy Football Lawyer, and my show, The Auction Brief. So those are my pet projects. I just dropped my own auction values on the Patreon. You can't find those anywhere else. I just dropped those today.
Nice. Awesome. Well, guys, go make sure to give Drew a follow. Drew, thank you again for hanging out, and we'll see you in Canton.
Thank you very much for having me. Can't wait for Canton. We are closing in on it.
Yes.
Yes,
Have a good night, Drew. Bye.
All right.
See you, brother.
All right, guys. We have got the lovely and talented Miss Kelly saying, come on in.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi. I'm doing well. I'm trying to figure out what is this? It's my drink. So.
We each have our big Stanleys here.
I'm gonna put sunglasses on for Kelly's bright green drink.
It's just water. It's not anything exciting.
That's what I keep telling them is in mind, just water. But by the sound of it, I think there might be something in there earlier because I called for Erica Rebecca for some reason just a few minutes ago.
And mine's wine. Mine's wine, and I'm fine.
Yours is. I think we're just gonna call you Rebecca now. That's your new name. So
Just glad wasn't me. I'll be very happy.
Yeah, Kevin, there's still time.
No,
Kelly,
we're not coming up with a name.
Yeah, we'll see. Guys, if you have a nickname for Kevin that you'd like us to use, throw it on in the chat. I'd love to see what our viewers can come up with. Have at it. Joey, if you're still there, $10 that Joey has the best nickname of the group. Kelly, tell us what you're up to lately. I know you're doing some marketing stuff for the FFWC that we're going to talk about here in a minute. You've got a lot of things going on, though, and I want you to share them with everyone.
I do. I went from having nothing going on to all kinds of things going on. I think the biggest project that I'm working on right now is the FFWC. It's the Circus Series in Las Vegas, and I'm hosting a women's event. I know a lot of women are like, I don't like gendered events, and I totally get that. But this is actually more of a girls' weekend. So August 19th through 22nd, we have social hours, pool time, cabana time in the owner suite, food, drinks included in your stay, and panels with some amazing women, not just from the sports industry space, but we have a few actresses that are getting in on the fun too. So meet and greets, photo ops, and of course a draft. Oh, a poolside concert, but I can't say who yet.
Ooh. Guys, I put the link. If you are interested in getting signed up for this draft and this weekend, the link is in the chat. So go there. You can find that information, and it's on Kelly's Twitter as well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just $99, 4 days of fun. Most of your food and drinks are going to be included in all of that fun. And a bird told me, a little birdie said, hotwire.com is the best place to get your downtown hotel. Just click 4 stars. Make sure, I don't want you to end up somewhere bad. Make sure you're doing 4 stars or higher.
Exactly.
I already have FOMO just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah.
I won't be able to make it, but wish I
I
could
know.
be there.
I'm so bummed.
I know. I am already committed to be in Kentucky for that weekend, but I have the most FOMO because I have been wanting to get out there for a while. Is this the 3rd year that they're doing
This is actually the 10th year. I had no idea until I just found out. It's the 3rd year I've been involved, but the 10th year total.
Wow.
Pretty
Yeah. I did
crazy.
not know that. That's wild. Yeah. I'm going to do it. I'm putting it on my calendar for next year. So I have 0 excuses. What kind of format is the draft?
It is a super flex league, I believe, PPR. I could be totally wrong.
You're just here for the event. Doesn't matter about the draft.
I mean, I got sucked into that part of it, and I need to probably figure that out. But yeah, it's gonna be fun, and it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you're very seasoned, because we're gonna try and like divvy up where we're not gonna have like sharks killing the minnows. The best that we can.
Yeah, so anybody can come out. Like you don't have to just, be or having done fantasy football for, years and years and years. That's great. I love that it's like open to anybody.
It was. Yeah, it used to be invite only. And now this year it's wide open to anybody.
That's awesome. How many divisions do you think there's going to be? Like how many are you expecting?
We've just filled 2. My goal was 4.
Nice.
So I'm thinking with the time restraints, I'm probably gonna end up with 3, but who knows? Maybe my little Facebook ads are gonna take off.
Well, hopefully there's some people that are listening that are interested and are going to be able to go on and sign up and get out there and draft with you guys.
I hope so.
And then Eric and I can live, or Rebecca and I can live vicariously through them.
Dang it, Rebecca, why aren't you coming?
It's so close to Canton, so it's like Canton one weekend, and then the draft.
There's so many. I wish I could just take like the entire month of August off, so I could just commit to doing everything fantasy football related.
I know, it's a very busy month.
Yeah, it really is. But it's still a good time. I know we kind of touched on a little bit, some people that don't really love women only events or things like that. But give me like a way to convince somebody who might be thinking that, and that maybe they don't want to, draft because I don't want to draft with just all women.
Maybe they don't want to draft at all. Maybe they just want to come hang out in the cabana. I don't know. But I think
just go for the vibe.
Yeah. Come get your swag, get your drinks, get your food. No, but really, I think you want to draft. If it's something that you're timid about, this is the best way to jump in and do it, because it's a welcome environment. You can ask questions. If you're unsure about a pick, they're not going to be like, I'm not helping you. There's definitely people that will help. And if you're seasoned and you're like, I'm just not into these gendered events, that's fine. You can participate in the series events and go sign up for one of the FFWC drafts if that's what you would prefer. You don't have to be pigeonholed, but the idea is to just create more community because women are making up nearly 40% of fantasy football leagues these days. So the other angle is there's a lot of dudes that go over this couple of weeks at the end of August, and they have partners, girlfriends, wives that are like, I don't want you to go to Vegas again. How long are you going to be there? What am I going to do? Maybe they feel a little less guilty if they can bring their girlfriend or wife along and they get to do something fun too.
Yeah, I love that because, like, I went to 2 of the Scott Fish Bowls this year, and like I was just like, gosh, we need more women here. And there were, a couple, women that came with their guys that were drafting. I was like, why aren't you in here? What, you should be drafting too. Like, this isn't just for the guys. Like, come on.
Yeah, for sure. I saw Angie in the chat saying that she hopes that we do it again next year, and I'm positive that we'll do it again next year. And I've told the guys, you have to start so much sooner. I really only had like a month lead time. So I'm really pleased with where we're at with it though. I'm also very grateful for the work since my home day job has always been marketing. So I'm enjoying it.
You've been doing a great job. Like, I've been getting all your emails too, like just seeing you everywhere right now. And it's wonderful to see.
It is. It's really cool. Kelly, what are the prizes for the tournament?
Yeah, prizes. So the grand prize, my mouse just wanted to quit working, apparently. Everything wanted to quit working. Why? Why does that? Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, the grand prize is a trip to Maui. And sorry, there we go. I'm going to read to you. So there is and if you win your league, there's you get free entry into the Las Vegas Championship next year. And second place is going to get the free event pass for next year. But overall prizes for the whole event, however many divisions we end up having, there's a week-long trip to Maui for 2, including resort and airfare. And second place is 2 free nights at Circa and a fancy dinner at Barry's. Ooh. So whether you win your division or you win the overall, I need to have them change the wording, but league, then you get those prizes.
Now I really do have FOMO.
I know, right? Me too.
Yeah. And I mean, those kinds of prizes are how we are able to have an event. We don't have to jump through all of the hoops of when money is involved and betting is involved. It is truly a community experience and a get together that happens to have a fun draft.
Exactly. I mean, I think like for $99, you get all of that and a chance to win a trip to Matt. Like, that's probably the best return on your investment than a lot of leagues that I can think of right now.
Linda won last year, and she won money because it was just a draft. We weren't doing any kind of event. We just created a contest. Oh, that's how it's been the last 9 years. So Linda won, and then she also came in like the top, I don't know, I'm going to say 20, but it could have been better than that for the entire series, everything.
Wow.
And so she got even more money.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. All right. Well, next year for sure. Rebecca and I will be there next year for sure in your draft.
Angie too.
And Angie. And Angie.
And Angie. They're
Thank
also
you.
running the Circa Survivor series in tandem, which if you're not familiar with that, you gosh, I'm so bad at this. I don't know what the entry fee is for that contest, but it's a Survivor series. So once your team's out, then you lose. But however many people make it to the end, and they split like $1 million pot. So that's pretty rad.
That's amazing. Well, because this is high stakes night here on the draft show. So there's a lot of like your tournament, and then there's a lot of other contests that they can play on the FFWC too that are high
There
stakes.
are.
So enough money to take yourself to Maui.
For sure. Like $350 contests feels very high stakes to me, but there are much larger ones.
Shit, I don't even want to throw down like $20.
I have a DM right now
Like,
where
no.
I owe $50.
I'll tell you my little spiel about playing in high stakes because I was like that for a long time. I wouldn't do it. I kept getting invited to go, and I was just like, no, that's just too much for me. I'm not that kind of player. I can't do that, But if you're gonna go on somewhere, and do like $105 drafts or spend $20 on
Yep.
100 different teams or something, you're playing against hundreds of thousands of different people that are out there, and what are your odds of winning that, right? Pretty small. So when you go on, when you play in a high stakes contest, it's a lot fewer people that you're playing against, so your chances of winning, you may be spending a little bit more, but you're probably going to win a little bit more too. And then to me, that's kind of what's always made the difference there is that once I got in there, once I started doing it, I was like, okay, this is doable. This isn't, like you don't have to be, a full-time fantasy player. You don't have to be anybody, with crazy, kind of income or anything to do this. Like you can go and you can play. And then, the fun thing is too, when you win those contests, you can roll that over and play next year. You don't have to worry about, okay, how am I going to finance this? And, like you said, Kelly, like a lot of people play with partners too, and that always helps. So there are different ways that you can play high stakes and it's not, going to make you go bankrupt at all. So I would just really encourage people. And I want to see more women out there. Cause like I go to these high stakes events, like I'm going to one in Louisville this year, and then I'm going to Vegas. And I can count on my hand the number of women that I see that are there playing by themselves. And it's, I think there were 3 of us in Kentucky last year, which is wild because it's a big event in Vegas too. I mean,
Yeah.
so I want to see more of the girls out there in the high stakes streets, which is definitely doable.
Me too. So again, if anybody's interested, if you think your wife or your girlfriend might be interested, just take a gander at circadraftseries.com/women of fantasy. $99. That's it. And we've got amazing guests coming. All of your favorites, Stephanie Smalls, Lindsay Rhodes, Jen Piacenti, Kendall Valenzuela, Samantha Holt. I believe we're bringing Faith in to have a Women of Fantasy Football table and some other very surprise.
And you.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there too. Come hang out with me.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for spending some of your time with us tonight. I appreciate you. I know you've got a lot going on. You're busy. So thank you for hanging out with us. If you would tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you and see all of your content.
Yeah, of course. I just made a big announcement yesterday. You can find me writing a various plethora that doesn't even make sense for a person that works with words. All kinds of football writings for Sports Illustrated on SI Fantasy Sports and on SI All Cardinals. Super excited about that. But I post everything at Kelly and Phoenix on the app formerly known as Twitter, and the same over at the nice place, Blue Sky.
Yes. Guys, thanks again to everybody who's watching, everybody in the chat, hanging out with us tonight. Guys, we're going to be back next week with a draft for you. I'm going to look into seeing if we can do a high stakes draft. I know we had one scheduled earlier this year that we had to reschedule. So maybe we can get that put back on the books. If you're interested in drafting that with us, we're going to have the info out so that you can go sign up for that. Make sure you are jumping into the Fantasy and Frames Discord as well. You can get all of our content there, social media, fantasyandframes.com. Rebecca/Erica is at America with a K 108. Kevin, you can find him at K Tompkins II on the Blue Sky. You can go skeet at him over on the Blue Sky. I am Stacy_Perez 83. Kelly, that's how we refer to it here. I heard someone else do it, and I just knew that it would make everybody feel really uncomfortable when I said that. So that's what we're going with. Guys, again, it has been a blast hanging out with everybody. Hope you got some great information tonight. If you did, make sure to give us a like, a subscribe, a follow. And until then, we will be back next Thursday, 9 o'clock.